In this edition of Back in History, we bring to you the history of the first military coup in West Africa. This coup appears to have shown the way to a flurry of other military coups that took place in several countries in Africa between the early 1960s down to the late 1990s. This first military coup took place in Togo, a country in West Africa. Welcome to this edition of Back in History. Togo is bordered by Ghana to the west and Republic of Benin to the east and Burkina Faso to the north. It stretches southward to the Gulf of Guinea and has its capital at Lomé. It is a small tropical country with an approximate landmass of 22,000 square miles and a population of 8 million people only. Like most African entities, Togo also came under years of colonial dominance. Togo, however, gained independence in April 1960. In 1961, Togo had its first presidential election and SEM was won by Sylvanus Olympio. Olympio was thus sworn in as the first president of the Republic. He went on with the affairs of the country and governed for only 3 years. On 13th January 1963, President Olympio was removed from office in a military coup and assassinated by the coup plotters. The coup was led by then Sergeant Nasingbe Eyadéma. This was the first ever military coup in West Africa, and the coup was bloody. Everyone in Africa and in the diaspora was shocked, and the innocence of that part of the continent was stained. But there is a background to the story of the overthrow and assassination of President Olympio. Here is the background. Nasingbe Eyadéma worked in the French army for 10 years, and in 1962 he resigned and returned to his home country of Togo, citing cases of discriminatory tendencies against him and fellow Togolese in the French army. He returned with other Togolese nationals who were with him in the army. It is reported that on Eyadéma's return to Togo with his colleagues, he met with the president and made a request to the president to absorb them into the Togolese army. President Olympio refused the request and gave them no place in the Togolese army. He must have had his reasons for the refusal. But this did not go down well with Eyadéma and his colleagues. In 1963, a coup was thus carried out against the government of President Olympio. In this coup, Olympio was brutally murdered, thus bringing an end to his administration. The planners and executors of the coup were Nasingbe Eyadéma and some of his colleagues that returned with him to Togo from the French army. Some reports have it that it was Nasingbe Eyadéma himself who pulled the trigger against President Sylvanus Olympio. A new man was immediately brought on board as the president of Togo. His name was Nicholas Grunitzky. Nicholas was assisted to the seat of power by Eyadéma. By this time, Eyadéma was a highly feared person throughout the country. No one wanted to test his will. It was every man to himself. Eyadéma and his colleagues were immediately absorbed into the Togolese army by the new president. Eyadéma was made the Chief of Staff and Minister of National Security and accorded promotion. The country became calm with little or no knowledge of what the future held for its people. Eyadéma went on with his work and worked in close partnership with President Grunitzky. 4 years after, Eyadéma fell out with President Grunitzky. He then mobilized soldiers under his command and staged a second military coup in Togo and removed President Grunitzky from office. In this second coup, however, there was no bloodshed. President Grunitzky's life was spared, and he managed to escape from Togo to take refuge in Paris. Eyadéma then announced himself on 14th April 1967 as the first military president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Togo, and also made himself the Minister of Defense. Eyadéma held these offices from 1967 till his death in 2005. Note that during these years, Eyadéma had also succeeded himself as civilian president of the same country. When he died in 2005, he was immediately succeeded by his son, Faure Gnassingbé Eyadéma. This is a story of how the first military coup in West Africa was planned and executed in Togo by soldiers led by Gnassingbé Eyadéma. Thanks for watching this edition of Back in History, and do remember to subscribe to the channel or follow the page for regular notification on every new video.